Everybody hearing okay? All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the Monday Night Coaches Show with Coach Brad LaPlante. I'm Todd Robinson. We do this every Monday night live from the Rio Grande patio here in Hutto. And for those that are watching, appreciate you tuning in. For those that are in the audience, even if you're not here to watch the show, you're kind of indirectly watching the show. Every Monday night what we do is we have drawings for some prizes. We have Hutto playoff T-shirts. We have Dave Campbell Texas Football magazines, the Hutto Hippo edition. And tonight we have a special Tim Walter canvas print of the Hutto flag. So that's going to be the grand prize winner tonight. So get your tickets right over here, Ryan, the good-looking guy in the black hat. Grab your tickets from Ryan, and we will, throughout the show, we'll do drawings for these prizes. But it's a good Monday night because it was a good Friday night, guys. Had the first ever 6A district win for the Hutto Hippos.
It's great.
It was good. But before we talk, let me introduce our guests, and we'll talk to them here in a little bit. Immediately to Brad's right is Coach Andy McLean, offensive coordinator in his second year with the Hippos. And to his right, in his first year with the Hippos, is A.J. Daniels, coach of special teams and wide receivers. And we'll talk to Coach McLean and Coach Daniels here in just a little bit. But, yeah, good Friday night. Tell you what, all day long I was a little nervous about the wind. It was a pretty windy day. And, boy, right at game time, kind of started dying down just a little bit. It stayed a little breezy throughout the night, but it felt like football weather.
It's beautiful out there.
Well, I think I mentioned it during the game Friday night on the air. I said, for our third game of the year, it's usually about 100 degrees. But I forgot, it's mid-October. We're playing our third game of the year in mid-October. And it really felt like good football weather.
Well, I think our kids kind of settled in with that weather, and they certainly, flew around. Our defense certainly had a good night. And, we've got offensive coaches here. Not that we had a terrible night offensively. We just have such high expectations, and, to come away with a nice 35-7 victory with a young team, maybe feeling like we didn't perform our best, that's a great situation to be in.
That's a good problem to have, isn't it?
It is. So, we just want our guys to play at a high level. We'll start, getting after it a little bit during the course of this week's practice to start fast. It'd be really nice for a coordinator up in the booth to start up 14-0 and settle into the game. But, our first drive last week was really good. We had some good, solidarity to it, I guess you'd say, and some good plays by a lot of kids and good offensive line play, even though our starting unit with the front five was not intact.
Right. Yeah, it seemed like, the first couple of games we had really started slowly. Obviously, that College Station game's unfortunately is distant past, but I think what did we count? 5-3 announced to start that game that we don't talk about anymore. But then, and we talked about it last week at the coaches show that it was the second half of the Waco game that it seemed like the switch kind of got flipped and things really all of a sudden started clicking for the Hippos. And we said pregame of before the game last Friday night that the Hippos really needed to get off to a fast start because we hadn't had that yet, right? And sure enough, we get the ball, first possession, drive right down the field, and what does that do for a team's confidence? Obviously contrasted with kind of the slow starts we had the first couple of games.
No, I think that's a big boost, especially when the starting lineup at some position, be it offensive line or wide receiver, has kind of changed each game. So to get some new guys in there and get a fresh start and have that confidence to start out a game against a big McNeil team. They got some pretty good size and run around. Of course, we knew they were down their quarterback, but that's why it was so important to get that lead right away to keep them down, know that they were kind of, no pun intended, limping into to that district game there. So, we got down in the red zone. I think it was 5 times maybe the first half, but maybe didn't come away with touchdowns, but to get the 40 and the 45-yard field goal and get those points and keep the pressure on them, knowing that we were going to, keep pushing the ball. We were able to take some chances on 3rd and 4th down from play calling and just, field position. because the defense was playing so well. You know, there's a couple times we could have pinned them down and played the field position game and chose to do some different things. But when your defense is playing well, let's go get after it. And we've got the confidence in the offensive line and quarterback and the skill guys that we can take some shots to push the change there too.
You know, you mentioned the field goals, and we another thing that we talked about was we remember the day, it's probably even pre-you, certainly pre these guys. It's kind of back in Ryan's day and before, when we didn't even have confidence we could make an extra point with a kicker. The last few years, we're like
right.
kicker U. It is the consistency that we have with our kickers, and to throw Gutierrez out there and let him nail that 45-yard field goal, then come back later on with a 40-yard field goal. And I think somebody – it was in y'all's office after the game, and somebody said, man, that 40-yarder or 45-yard, whichever one that was an ugly kick. I'm like, it goes in the books as a 3, goes in the books as a made field goal, and a lot of y'all don't remember. I think it was Pete Schmidt was like, yeah, y'all don't remember when we would go for 2 most of the time because we didn't have any confidence.
Well, and again, that's
kickers.
Because we've got good kids in the program, and we have for years. We're spoiled. Of course, when you watch Eduardo and Evan kick in practice, whether it's 11 on 11, or we're doing a PAT or a field goal unit, or they're just using the tripod holder, their ball with their trajectory and just how it comes off their foot is awesome. So
yeah,
those weren't his best kicks per se. But there's a snap and there's a hold that come into play as well.
I've had a lot of holes in golf where I got to write down a par that I didn't have to describe what it looked like. Somehow it just managed to be a par.
Counts as 3 points, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, and so since we're talking about kickers, like I said, you got 2 good ones. A lot of teams struggle to find one. We've got 2. Obviously, you use Gutierrez for the PATs and the field goals, and then Eduardo comes out there for the kickoffs. But talk a little bit about the decision, because it sometimes varies on kickoffs especially. It seems the trend right now is that high pooch kick on those kickoffs, trying to hope the team's either going to fair catch it, or obviously you're going to hang it up there where the return's going to be short, versus the kicking it deep, even kicking it out of the back of the end zone if you've got somebody that can do that. Right. What factors into that thought?
Well, number one, your kicker. I mean, if he can kick it deep with trajectory, to get past that 4.5 second height and time for your kickoff coverage to get down inside the 5. If you've got a kid that does that, you might do something different. Certainly the speed of your coverage unit, the wind and the direction, the consistency of the kicks, because you can have a kicker that can kick it down inside the 10, but if it's a line drive and gives them plenty of time
to return
it back. The other part of it is who's back there. Who's their back 4 to 6 guys that if they're dangerous, let's hold it up as high as we can, get our guys down there. And as you see a lot of the times, that's not an easy ball to catch with everybody in your face, and you're going to see that ball fumbled every now and then. So there's a lot of factors that go into that on a given night.
How much are those guys during the week out there practicing their kicks, and especially that kickoff, right? Trying to, I know he always seems to try to put that high arching kick right at about the 25 or so, between the 25 and 30, it seems like. How many kicks over and over and over is he practicing that?
Between the 2 guys, are you going to count an hour and a half or 2 hour practice and all the, kicks that they steal during that time? Because it's not like they're out on the 40 the whole time when Andy's got a 7-on-7 group going. They're kicking cross fields. They're aiming at the goalpost. They're working some onside kicks. They're getting out there early or staying late. There may be a time where we're in meetings or weights, and they stay out and go steal some extra time. Even on Saturday, there's not a lot of film for them to cover, whereas a linebacker or offensive line, they could watch an hour's worth of film. They go out there and steal kicks there too. And then on the weekends, they always find a way to get in extra kicks. So
just like a golfer going to the driving range, right? Just ball after ball after ball, and I guess trying it both ways, right? If the wind's blowing, we're going to practice some with the wind at our back. We're going to practice some with the into the wind, and those as a special teams coach, AJ, you probably love it when he's getting to kick that ball into the wind, That's a dangerous ball to try to field and return as a receiving team, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The both of those guys, do you think both those guys have a potential next level future kicking the ball?
If they want to play college football, they will absolutely find a home.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're great kids on top of it. They're do right, any type of kids. I mean, they'll come on into, some of the meetings and just kind of hang out. And, they've got their own little corner in the locker room.
Kickers are quirky, aren't they?
Great kids. Great kids.
I don't mean that in a bad way. Kickers just are always interesting folks. The I think they who was the one we had a couple of years ago that was just hilarious. Blanking out.
We had Oscar. We had Jared. We had Bradley.
It was just a couple of years ago. I'll think of it anyway. Funny guy, but Oscar, I think when our kicking fortunes in Hutto started kind of changing was probably Jared Haynes and Oscar Jorgesevich. Of course, Oscar now, he actually ended up just going the punting route. Now he punts at Washington State, and I think that guy probably has a shot at an NFL career punting the ball. If he doesn't do that, he's already a real estate agent in both the state of Washington and Texas. So,
well, you're not bad if you're up for the Ray Guy Award.
Exactly,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, to see even to hear the ball with an empty stadium come off his foot.
Yeah.
That there is an absolute difference on that one.
Just by the sound whether it's a good kicker.
You're talking about Izzy, aren't you? Who beat
yes.
Georgetown on the late.
Yeah, that was it.
Had to cheat and look at my contacts.
I saw you looking it up.
It's all right.
Yeah. I knew what you were looking at.
Don't look at my phone, please.
Yeah, you weren't checking text messages. Hey, AJ, we were talking. What was it? The Waco game, I guess. When we've never seen a kicker get a penalty for running onto the field too fast to go kick his extra point. That was crazy. Have you ever seen that?
Never seen it before. Not 100% sure how quick he was onto the field after going back and watching the film.
Oh, is that right?
I don't think he was there.
Yeah.
But we'll take what comes to us and just tell him to stay back a little bit longer.
He was just excited to go kick his extra point. But then on the kickoff, I think it was the kickoff that followed that, I think he was kind of mad because wasn't he the guy that went down and then made a hard hit on somebody? I think he made a tackle on that.
I know he made a tackle
on the
at some point. I'm not sure if it was that one, but he definitely had some pent-up anger.
Yeah. Anyway, never had seen that before. So the Hippos, after their win Friday night, go to a 2-1 overall. Bigger thing, 1-0 in District 25 6A. Always good to get that first district win and be sitting first place.
Yes, sir.
Because if you don't have a district loss, you can't be anything but first place, all right?
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, just a reminder, if you're sitting out there, come grab a ticket from Ryan over here. We're going to do a drawing. We've got shirts. We've got this awesome canvas print by Tim Walter, photographer. We've got some Dave Campbell, Texas Football magazines. We're going to do a drawing here in a little bit. I haven't seen very many people come get a ticket, so right now you got a really good chance of winning. So come grab your ticket for a drawing. All you folks sitting out here, grab a ticket. Anybody's eligible. All right, so we talked a little bit about the offense Friday night. I want to talk a little bit about the defense. Defense was lights out. And, you went into halftime, and McNeil had 21 total yards at halftime. What's the at that point, what's the discussion in the locker room? One, defense, Andy, I'll ask you this here in just a second, but defense was putting offense in great field position time and time again. But what was that feel from the defense in the locker room following the first half, just knowing they'd pretty much shut them out?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of adjustments that they needed to make. We're basically going to head on into to man coverage and send a blitz here or there. Our defensive line was playing well and get off the ball, and our linebacker fits were really good against the run at that time. Probably two of the plays that we were really concerned with, we had shut down. And just knowing that it wasn't their number one quarterback and the fact that our corners and our safeties were playing well, we got to just keep that game plan and keep going with it. So that's probably the most blitzing I've seen out of a Hutto team in a long time. But why would you give them any breathing room?
Right.
If they're, eventually you might get caught on a screen or a play action, but why would you give them any breathing room?
Andy, as offensive coordinator, how fun is it for you when the defense is giving you the ball not only inside their 50, but I think multiple times inside their 30, inside their 35 or 30.
No, I mean, it's great. Sometimes you kind of got to hold yourself back from trying to take all of your shots too early when you had that many good field position drives in the first half. But, I mean, I love it. I mean, we have a lot of guys playing both ways, and everybody who is someone that plays on offense and defense found me at halftime. Every single one of those kids, like, Coach, we're good. We got you. Like, you need me, I'm there, all that stuff. So I was really excited, proud of those guys. We all got a little peaked of interest when on Thursday night at our JV game, we saw the quarterback who had started the week before.
Played in the JV game.
Played Thursday night. They had a different thing over there with, like, lacrosse and stuff. So that kind of, they got all of our attention because Coach Harvey and I both go with the JV guys, and so we saw that.
And then you're like, who's going to be the quarterback Friday night?
Well, and then they had the guy that had played some the week before, also like number 28. I think it was number 11. Is that who played this week, right? So, no, I mean, it was great. I mean, it makes me feel a whole lot more comfortable. It also makes me a whole lot more frustrated when we get down there and we don't get the touchdowns out of it. Obviously, we shoot for 100% in the red zone, and we were one goal or one drive short of that where we started there. We had a kid trying to make a big play. He ended up losing yardage because he tried to reverse field, and then we had to punt after that. But beyond that, really, really happy with us taking advantage of that field position.
I think Friday night was one of those examples of statistics. While they can sometimes tell a picture, they don't tell the whole picture because offensively, I don't know, we had, 380-something yards?
Something like that.
But like I said, when you're starting a lot of your drives at their 40 or their 30, there's only so many yards you can get, right? So it's about putting the points on the board, not putting the yards in the stat column.
And we don't have any goals in our offense about yardage.
Is that right?
Yeah, we don't have a single one. And because I've played in plenty of games like that, well, in the situations you got, doesn't matter. We have red zone goals, we have third down goals, we have first drive of each half goals, but we don't have a single goal where I don't care what the yardage is.
Yeah.
I want to make sure a lot of guys get touches. We accomplish that better than we have all year this week. And I want to make sure that we take advantage of opportunities, meaning third down, fourth down, red zone.
Obviously, the defense usually has goals for yardage. And I'd say they probably accomplished some of those Friday night. No, McNeil finished with negative 16 rushing yards for the game. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's when you're holding the other team to negative yards running, you're probably in pretty good shape, right? And 6 turnovers, I believe, correct?
Was it 6 or 7?
I think it was 6, and then they also had a couple of over on downs.
Okay.
Yeah, so
we count that.
And that's where when you're talking about the stats and how it plays into it, if it's a 3 and out, that's just as good as recovering a fumble or getting an interception.
Sure.
Get that ball back to the offense. So I think they had, that was 3 different ones of those, I believe.
When you get a turnover like that, Andy, as an offensive coordinator, I know a lot of times the thought is, man, we want to go for the big play on the first play, try to strike fast. It seems like that happens often in a turnover. Do you just kind of play it by ear and see what the situation is, whether you want to do that or not? Or
I just do a little roll the dice and whatever shows up.
See
That's
what
I call.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
No, I mean we have a plan. I'll say this: we do a self scout of ourselves every single week, and we've got some. You have tendencies based on field position and all different kinds of things, and we have a bit of a tendency on that 50 to 21 positive range because our defense has put us in that spot so many times. We're taking shots on that, so I'm okay with that because it means our defense is doing great, giving us the ball in a good position. But that is something that we're aware of ourselves, and we have a plan. Sometimes, depending on how that defensive drive was, like if it was a 3 and out, that's a great time to take a shot because you're just seizing momentum.
Yeah.
If it was a 50-yard drive, they started backed up and then they got them stopped. Sometimes, all right, we're not going to go right now because our defense might need at least us to get 1 first down before we want it back on the field. But points are points, so we're doing whatever we think the best call is to go get us points. And it, like you said, it is a bit of a feel thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes Coach LaPlante wants it, and sometimes he doesn't. Maybe I'm thinking the opposite way, so we just work that out on the headsets, and we go with what we know is going to work.
There were a couple of times, and I think one somewhat early in the first half that I think we had the ball. I mean, it was close to midfield, and it was a 4th down. I think a 4th down and 1, and you guys decided to go for it. And I said, that one's probably not only as much about a confidence in the offense of we can get this, as much as that's a confidence in the defense that if we don't get it, we're going to be able to stop them. Do you often consider that when you're making that decision?
Yeah, anytime you cross the 40 and you've got 60 yards to go, if your defense is playing well, 1 yard, I mean, what are you going to call on 4th and 1 in our offense? You've got 7, 8, 10 plays you can call on 4th and 1. And with a quarterback that can check at the line of scrimmage, if they give us a different alignment, let's do it. Defense playing well, let's go.
It was one of the best defensive games I've seen from the Hippos in a long time. We've had a lot of them, but it was just a dominant game. Felt like the Hippos really – did you guys go into halftime feeling like you should have been up by more than – what was it, 14-3? No, 14-0? What was the score at halftime?
We had a field goal in the first
13.
half. 13. I think we had 2 field goals.
That's right, 13-0. Yeah, they didn't have anything because they didn't score towards the end. Did you go in there? Do y'all do the what if game? And man, we ought to be up 27-0, ought to be up 30-0, kind of a thing.
Not mad, just missed opportunities. Right. You know, you want to love up on your players and say, guys, we're playing well enough where it could have been 35-0 at the time. And as well as our defense was playing and the opportunities that were, presented to us, if we block a guy here, catch the ball a little bit different there, find a little window there on a throw. I mean, it's a way different ball game.
Yeah.
So, but again, the fact that you had the opportunity to be up, it's a positive, but you want execution as a coach.
Well, and I know a lot of times you go in at halftime and you have a feel for, hey, this is going to be a tight game or whatever versus a game of we are in total control of this thing. And I think you had to feel like we're in total control of this thing. Even though they're going to get the ball to start the second half and we're only up 13-0, we're in control of this game, and we're going to.
Well, our play calls were there. I mean, it wasn't like, hey, we shouldn't be calling this. It's okay. That was there. Good. We're going to come back to that one. It's going to be fine, and we're going to execute, and our kids will get it, and they'll know their mistakes after we, talk to them either at halftime or in between series, and of course they did.
So, talk a little bit about you get towards the end of the game. What, 5 or 6 minutes left? Defense has pitched a shutout, and obviously every defense wants to finish a game with a shutout. At the same time, you got other guys, you got kids that you need to get in the game and get some playing time. So, where's that fine line between we want the shutout versus these kids need to get some playing time? Every
down that any kid gets is a meaningful down. So you have to, when you have a chance to expand the score and get guys some playing time and rotate some guys in that have definitely earned it through practice during the course of the week or weeks, you've got to give them that opportunity to succeed, or sometimes it is a failure, and that's okay. They need to grow from their successes and failures when they see themselves on a Saturday morning film. But our sidelines were fine. It wasn't a blame and point the finger and all that. All right, we just got to be better.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we're going to do our first drawing. I'm going to tell you this. So the canvas print of the Hutto flag from Tim Walter, that's going to be our kind of final drawing. So anybody that wins, your ticket can go back in for the last drawing for this one. So the first one we're going to draw for is one of these shirts. So Ryan, draw us a number. And if you don't have a ticket, come over, get a ticket. We've got a few more drawings we'll do. Number 35. 35. Morgan Orozco is the winner. Jeffrey, y'all can you can choose Texas Football Magazine or a shirt, whichever you prefer. Anybody can get a ticket. See the man in the black hat. Anybody's eligible for drawings for some cool Hutto stuff. All right. While they're doing that, let's get to know Coach Daniels a little bit. He's brand new to Hippo Nation. So Morgan, what you want? You want the magazine, or you want a T-shirt?
What do you want?
Got to watch out for those wires.
Hey, what do you want?
How low can you go?
Magazine?
Yeah, that's probably what your daddy wants.
Thank you.
Good job, Morgan.
All right, Coach. So you came over to the Hippos from Western Hills up in Fort Worth?
Yes, sir.
Where you'd coached for 1 year, right?
Yes, sir. It's also where I went to high school.
That was your alma mater?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But you came and played college ball here in next door in Georgetown, right, at Southwestern?
Yes, sir. Brought back the football team after we hadn't played since 1953, I want to say.
Yeah, when did they started in what, 13, 14, I think was their first year?
When I got there, we were entering our third year.
Okay.
So
yeah, because Ryan graduated from Hutto, and I know it was his class, I think, that was going to be the first group there. So how was your experience playing at a college program that was just starting up?
Well, it's interesting because there's really no culture there to begin with.
Right.
So there's no hazing. There's nothing like that. It's just this is
Not that hazing goes on anywhere.
No,
I didn't
never.
get hazed.
Yeah.
I did not get
But
hazed.
we didn't have any expectations going into it. And the way we did it, we started off with all freshmen. Then the freshmen became sophomores, and we brought in a new freshman class. And so by the time I was a sophomore, we won a conference championship because we had a team full of experienced juniors who'd been playing since their freshman year. So it was just a different way to go about it, and I really liked it, instead of going the transfer portal.
And what did you play at Southwestern?
I came in as a quarterback, and then I ended up moving to tight end and receiver.
Okay. How was that transition for you? Were you quarterback in high school?
I was a quarterback in high school.
At Western Hills?
At Western Hills.
Okay.
It was an interesting transition, especially just becoming more physical, and it's just a different way to see the game. But after I got used to catching a ball without seeing the quarterback throw it, that scared the living crap out of me the first time. But after that, I was fine and had some pretty good success with it.
And as a guy making a transition from quarterback to receiver, in a lot of ways, that's probably an easier transition for some guys because you know kind of what is going on in a quarterback's mind, what they're looking for. You probably read an offense or a defense the same way a quarterback does, and probably made that transition a little easier.
Well, it also helped that my college head coach, who was also the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator, he made me stay in the quarterback room as the backup quarterback, so I was still in all the meetings and all the game planning. So I was still able to see it from a quarterback's perspective. I was just flexing out or lining up in line.
So I think I read after college you went and tried out with the Canadian Football League. Is that right?
I was trying out as a defensive end. It was the weirdest thing. I came to a tryout as a tight end, find out they don't have tight ends in Canada, and they see me throw one time. So they go, oh, just try out as a quarterback. Do the entire tryout as a quarterback, and I threw pretty well, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get a minicamp tryout as a quarterback. And they go, okay, we want you to come back as a defensive end.
And you're like, what?
I haven't played defensive end since the 8th grade. So went in all.
Generally, it's a size difference in pro football of a quarterback versus a defensive end, right?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these guys are getting bigger, but still.
So how'd that work out?
It went pretty well until I got turf toe, and then I started to realize that there's definitely a difference between somebody who's never played defensive end before and somebody who has played at a higher level. And I knew I wanted to be a coach since I was 12.
Is that
so
right?
I was thinking there's really no point in me continuing playing when I've learned all this information and I may cap out at the Arena League.
Sure.
I might as well just go do what I know I'm supposed to do and get a head start on that.
What made you at age 12 decide you wanted to be a football coach?
Age 12, that's when I first started actually playing tackle football. When I was in the 4th grade, I believe that's when Tony Dungy won the Super Bowl with the Colts. And just for me, it was in my perspective, it was a Christian, African-American male, positive figure like my dad. And I was like, I want to be that. I want to be able to influence people. I was always the kid at recess. Even though I was playing quarterback, I was still trying to – I think I tried to install a playbook in the 5th grade at recess for the Thanksgiving Bowl. But when I got to the 6th grade, I just completely fell in love with it, and I knew distinctively I wanted to be a role model for other kids, and I wanted to be able to just be around football because I knew I couldn't play forever.
Yeah, that's great. There aren't too many better role models than Tony Dungy. What a man. Yeah, and like you mentioned, all aspects of his game, of his life, coach, Christian man, everything. Just super guy. So good for you. Here you are, living the dream now.
Absolutely.
So what? So Western Hills, you're at your alma mater, your high school alma mater, and you make the move down to Hutto. What made you make that transition?
A girl, more specifically my wife.
Always.
I'd met her right before I took the job at Western Hills, and then came down here. We were planning on getting married, got engaged, and then I had interviewed with some other schools and had some things not work out, thank God, and then I ended up here. So that's long story short how I ended up down here.
What did you know about the Hippos from up in Fort Worth?
I hadn't seen much about them up in Fort Worth, but when I was down here in college, I still get my hair cut down here, and I'd pass by the stadium all the time. I'd all the time. I'd heard great things about them,
Yeah.
and it was just something I wanted to be a part of, just seeing the Hutto on the side of the stadium and small-town small-town high school football.
Did you ever go to any of the Georgetown Hutto games when you were over in Georgetown?
I did go to a Georgetown Hutto game.
Yeah. It was a pretty intense little rivalry.
Did the lights shut off?
Yeah. Did the lights go off at the stadium there?
I can't remember.
We'll just say yes.
Sure.
Highly likely that they did.
2 out of 3, is that what it was
Something
between
like
Eastview
that.
and Georgetown?
Yeah.
Now,
What's been your – so you moved down here, what, in the summer? Like you moved here during COVID, right?
I came down here in March for what I thought was going to be just a 2-week spring break, and then it turned into 4. And then I moved in with my fiance's parents for a little bit, and we got married. So I came down in like the 3rd week of March.
So is she from here?
She's from Austin.
Okay. So what's been your feel, and I know it's hard because it's COVID and things aren't normal, but what's been your feel about Hippo Nation in the brief time you've been here?
I think you just said it when you said Hippo Nation. I remember when I became official, I got a large amount of texts from people just saying, welcome to Hippo Nation, welcome to Hippo Nation. I'm like, oh my gosh, is it really Hippo Nation everything?
Yeah.
It's just a really big family, and I really like that. The kids are great. The people I work with are great. I couldn't ask for better people to work with. So I absolutely love it down here.
Well, and obviously, I don't have to tell you this. I mean, you joined one of the, what I'd say, I might be biased, but probably one of the best high school football coaching staffs in the state of Texas, with the guys that you're surrounded with here.
I learn something new every single day, and that's what I love about it. I'm not the kind of guy to come in and say, yeah, but I absolutely know everything, because I'm 23. That's obviously not true. So if I can just take one piece of information a day, it's amazing. And I work with a great staff where I can ask those questions, or if I don't know anything, know something, I can be honest and say, hey, what should we do with this, or what should we do with that?
Yeah.
And they're more than willing to help. So in combination with that and just hard work, it's been pretty good.
That is such a cool thing. What beyond the coaching, what is it that you love about working with the young guys, and what do you hope that these high school players take away from the program, but take away from their relationship with you when they leave Hutto and go on to that next step in life?
With the players specifically, I want them to become better men, because I know they're not going to be football players forever, obviously. And so I'm a huge believer in what you do on the football field translates into life. So by the time you leave Hutto, and by the time, if I'm still your position coach, by the time you leave, or if I have to move somewhere else on the staff, just by being around us, I want you to become a better father one day. I want you to be a better son. I want you to be a better brother and contribute to society, even if it's not with football. You don't have to be a football player, be involved in it in any way. I just want you to be successful in whatever you go and do.
That's awesome. I'm guessing that interview was a pretty quick yes, wasn't it, when you were done with him?
It's a great addition to the staff.
No kidding. Yeah.
Well, and even now, when we were interviewing, it was all on Google Meet,
Yeah,
so it wasn't like we were
that's
in
true.
the office, and
Yeah, everything was on
it
screen.
was different, but it was good. You know, one of many good hires that we had
Yeah.
throughout the time
Including
of
the guy to
COVID.
your right.
That's right.
Well, that
He's
was
pre-COVID.
pre-COVID.
He
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
What's
PC.
but assist to Andy for getting AJ, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So Andy, you've now been in Hippo Nation. You're in your second year, and obviously you were at Eastview prior to that. But what would you tell, like AJ, but another coach? What have you experienced with Hippo Nation in your first year and a half so far?
I have never either played in or coached at a one school district place before. So that was the first kind of unique thing. So that goes and feeds the Hippo Nation idea, I think, unlike other places I've been. And I can tell you, pre-COVID, again, the feel and the atmosphere of a Friday night at Hutto is completely different than other places I've been. I've been in places that have a lot of people also, but people lining the fences, no room to walk in the stands or out by the concessions or the little grass patch that we have and everything. I haven't seen anything quite like that. And I get a good view of it because I'm up in the press
That's
box.
right, yeah,
so I
you
get
do.
to look around and look at all the people,
Yeah.
and they're going nuts when we score touchdowns. So it's a lot. It's just fun. It's just fun to be a Hippo. I, since the day I got here, have bragged to every person that I know that we are the only Hippos in the nation.
Yep.
And I think at least 100 people know that now that
Yep.
did not know that before.
Yep.
So.
And they probably told somebody. So more than 100.
Definitely. There's
Yeah.
people in Michigan, Minnesota, Georgia, Alabama, California.
Yeah.
We're going wide.
It's
We're
crazy.
Yep.
Isn't
We're
that
spreading
fun?
the word.
Well, and let me tell you this. How many other places does your superintendent come out and watch your coaches show on a Monday night?
I've also never seen us have a coaches show. That's another unique thing.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, well, see.
Board member.
And a board member. Board member, superintendent, other folks. It's just, yeah. It's
Very
fun.
good.
People online. Hundreds, if not thousands, watching online right now. Yeah. Now we have fun. We have fun doing this. Hey, I want you to, because I saw a Facebook post about it. I don't know if Megan did it or what, but I want you to speak real quick about your student trainers, because I know that there's kind of a little bit of a call for student trainers, and there's some openings there.
Well, every sport needs them. Of course, we have athletic periods, I guess 6 out of the 9 now because we have advanced. And so, of course, some of the kids that did help last year, they're either graduated and gone, or you didn't get the school announcements during the spring to advertise it as an athletic trainer or athletic director to try to help out the other sports. And it's just a great way for kids to be involved, whether it's helping out the training staff or you're filming or helping with equipment, spotting the football, shagging balls for baseball and softball. There's just so many ways that, if people aren't wanting to play anymore, or they want to learn more about a sport or just be a part of something, to get involved. So we definitely want people to reach out to us at the athletic office and get with us, and we'll get those kids and their schedules arranged that they can help out one of our athletic teams.
Well, and a lot of those kids might not know that there's opportunities in college for doing that kind of thing too. Ryan was an equipment manager at Tech. Megan was a trainer at Tech.
Yes.
And there's opportunities as student trainers, student managers, that you get to be with a football team, basketball team, baseball team, whatever, at that major D1 level, and travel, and I mean, it's fun. It's hard work. They work really hard.
I have a high school teammate of mine who was a backup, never played quarterback. He went and became a manager guy at Oklahoma State. He was soon the head coach at Gundy's, right-hand man. He is now an assistant for the New York Jets.
See? Isn't that
working
crazy?
in their just operations department.
And it started as a equipment manager for
his college.
Yeah, for his
after
college.
playing in high school.
There is some great opportunities. I know when Ryan was equipment manager at Tech, there was a guy, I think a former Tech equipment manager that had gone on, was the head equipment guy for the San Diego Chargers or somebody like that. So anyway, lots of opportunities. So anybody that is interested in that, contact the athletic office about being a trainer. All right, let's do another drawing real quick. Ryan, draw from all those hundreds of numbers you have there. There's a good chance the Forrest family might win one. 37. Number 37. 37. The superintendent. That wasn't rigged.
It's not the painting yet.
What do you want?
No,
yeah. Remember, those numbers go back into the drawing for the canvas print. We'll give Mike gets a Texas Football Magazine. There you go. Yeah. All right. It's not too late. If you don't have a ticket yet, we'll do a couple more drawings. Come get your ticket over here from Ryan. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Hutto shirts, and then everybody's going to be eligible for this canvas print from Tim Walter Photography. Thank you, Tim, for donating that. Tim does a great job as the photographer for our football team. He comes up with some spectacular pictures, like our defense coordinator jumping about 3 feet in the air. Did y'all see that one this week?
We had everybody testing
Adam
the vertical
Harvey?
in the office this morning.
Did Harvey
Big
win?
contest. Oh, no.
No, he just happened to. It was an illusion,
No.
right?
He's flexible. He pulled his feet up. It looked high.
But wasn't Tim laying down on his back going forward with that camera?
Yeah, I think so.
don't know. There's a lot of comments
Yeah.
about that this morning.
Pictures don't always tell the whole story. Now, Tim does a great job taking some amazing pictures and certainly capturing memories for kids and coaches, and that'll last a lifetime. All right, so you guys, you're 3 games in to the season. This time of the year, normally you're about 6 in, but you're 3 games in, plus a scrimmage against Belton. So we'll say a third of the way into the season. What's your what do you assess right now? What's your third of the way into the season assessment of the team, both offensively, defensively, special teams? AJ, what are where do you think we stand?
Well, each day we're building depth. I mean, that's one thing, and Andy already covered it, where sometimes we feel like a two-way school because we do have guys playing both ways. We don't always have the luxury for AJ to roll out, 11 guys for the punt team, 11 for kick return, and that sort of thing. Well, even did a 4-minute tutorial for long snapping on game day just to start building depth. And you've got Forrest over there learning it, excelling in it, and getting game reps, and now he's on first string for one of our special teams unit for something that he had never done before. So, we're always looking at guys and giving them opportunities, and that's just one that he is soaked up with. So that'll not only be good for us, but for recruiting down the road to be able to do that skill, that's good there. But, I think our biggest thing is how do we continue to get better on all phases? How do we build depth? And how do we have each individual player maximize their potential and give the most to that side of the ball and peak at the right time? And even talking to the team, this weekend, we certainly have not peaked with this group. Every kid in the locker room knows that. Every coach on staff knows that, and we don't want to peak right now. So there's no pressing to peak right now. But it's, are we going to do what we need to do every day in practice to take every opportunity and make mistakes fewer and fewer throughout the course of the weeks? And even some of the install. We felt today the install was maybe large on paper, but can our kids handle it? And we thought they did. And, if they can handle new things being thrown at them and mistakes are less and less on either side of the ball, or they're texting our coaches on a Sunday and say, hey, Coach, I saw this, and they still have that drive to get better at all those little things, we're right where we need to be.
I mean, I guess you're really just looking for improvement week after week after week, right? I mean, you just don't want to go backwards. Keep making improvements, and schedule, I would say, is probably pretty favorable in terms of making those improvements. Even, heck, might have caught a break by having a postponement with a team like Westwood, and you get to start off district play with McNeil, right? And for a lot of reasons. One, you had a couple of guys that had to miss the first half of that next game, which happened to be McNeil. And then you have more time for some guys that are injured, like Banks, to be ready to come back. Right. So, I'd say from a schedule perspective, it's very favorable to just continue building, right?
Well, and I think our kids know that. Certainly our coaches know that, but the kids realize that. And, it wasn't after we found out late Thursday night that we lost a game, it wasn't, all right, we're going to sit around and waste time. They were mad. They were excited that now they've got a new opponent to prep for. And, it's just about the matchup each week, how we individually are going to match up against them at positions, but also just as a whole unit. And I think, some of those kids came out on that Friday night and they saw Cedar Ridge and they saw Round Rock just alongside of us as we were out there scouting. And you could just see confidence. And each week they're looking at the challenge and gaining confidence, because I think we're one of the faster teams in 25-6A. Now, our mistakes need to be less if we're going to be beating the top teams in 25-6A. But as that confidence grows and that trust grows to each other and their abilities and their communication, I mean, there were times where formation switched and our guys were lined up just like that defensively on Friday night. And if you would have saw that on Tuesday, you may not have known that it was going to be just perfect like that, and guys were flying to the ball. And, even just watching our film, it might be a run play, and the first game, a wide receiver jogs off the line of scrimmage. Now they're all for getting off the line of scrimmage, and you don't know if it's a run or a pass. Just little things like that. Breaking tendencies, like Andy said, those are the things that we're working on. And the goal is to go 1-0 each week. But like this week, we've kind of put down at positions. Okay, what are 3 things you need to get better as a wide receiver group, as an offensive line group this week? What is the focus? Certainly you want to get good at everything, but you can try to get good at everything and don't get better at anything too. So I think that focus is going to help us this week.
AJ, as special teams coach, but also receivers coach, I know you probably work with Coach Adams as receivers coach, but do you guys, when you're coaching kids at receiver, the receiver position, are you coaching more technique of running routes? Are you coaching, hand position for catching balls? What are I mean, a lot of these kids are just naturally gifted athletes, right? So what are the finer things that you're trying to teach receivers?
I'll take a page out of the book of my receivers coach in college. He would always emphasize alignment, assignment, and technique, and that's what I try to emphasize with them. So what are our splits? Do we have an outside breaking route? Do we have an inside breaking route? Where are we lining up? Are we doing the what's best for the offense to bring defenders out of the box? Assignment, are you doing the right thing? That's simple enough. Are you running a comeback when you're supposed to? Are you running a post on the backside? Are you actually firing off the ball like you're supposed to? And then technique. That's when you get the finer elements of just catching the ball or having your hands inside as a blocker. And that's watching film before I came to Hutto. That's something I wanted to put my hands in because I saw that we left a lot on the table as blockers. And I think that's something that sets the ceiling of an offense pretty low. And when you can turn into really good blockers, now you're busting 15 yards and you're turning it into a touchdown as opposed to, oh, that's a 15-yard gain. Let's re-rack and get another play in.
Right.
Well, and that's truthful because on his desk right now is what?
A knockdown board.
For how many blocks receivers are making? Or
There's different elements. There's a pancake where if you land on top of them, there's a bully block. I call it Gatorade block because you throw him into the Gatorade. There's a cockroach where you push him so hard he lands on his back and he has his legs in the air. And the guys were coming up to me in the game saying, Coach, that's a knockdown. That's a knockdown. And I was getting really excited because we weren't talking about catching the ball.
Right.
We were talking about we're blocking for our teammates to give our offense a better opportunity and put our team in a better position to win.
Yeah, that was one of the things. I was watching a little bit of a replay of our call Friday night, and I think it was our very first drive. It might have been, I don't remember. It was late in that first drive, and Ryan even actually mentioned, I don't remember which receiver it was that made a good block on a particular play. But do you notice during the games? Do you notice receivers making blocks, or is that something you go back when you're watching film and you pick those things up?
I notice it during the game. Because we're both all assigned to a certain part of the field, and I'm watching the far side of the field, so I'll notice the receivers making the blocks there. But then I'll go back on film because it's important, and I want the kids to know it's important. So we'll mark down what's this, what's that. If it's a gray area, sometimes I'll say, okay, we'll vote. Is this a knockdown, or did he just push him to the side a little bit? And it gets fun and it gets creative. So it's a little bit of both.
Well, even on the sideline, if number 4 is playing corner and he makes the tackle, you know who missed the block because you know who was assigned to block that guy.
That's right, So you take away points on that one?
Don't take away points.
Yeah. What do you call that one? Yeah, all the other, you have names for the blocks. You have a name for the missed blocks?
An error?
Just a missed block.
For a missed block, you just whiffed.
Yeah, a whiff. There you go. Andy, as offensive coordinator, obviously you're watching kind of everything. And what have you learned in the first 3 games about these guys, our offense, Grayson, and how he's working with certain receivers? Do you begin to notice like developing, he developing like a chemistry with certain receivers and guys that kind of become his go-to guys? And do you make play calls based on, hey, he's got a confidence in, a certain guy. He's got a confidence in Jay. He's got a whatever. Do you make calls at critical moments based on Grayson's connection with a receiver?
Well, the first part of your question asking about that, what I've noticed and everything is the good thing is he's building a relationship on the field with everybody. Like I mentioned earlier, we got the ball to more receivers in the one game than we have yet. So I don't feel like there's a single kid in our receiver unit that we put on the field right now that isn't a option every play.
Yeah.
And then to your second question, kind of about, all right, in a critical moment, forever coaches have been saying think players, not plays. But the good thing is if we got 4 receivers on the field, I feel good about all 4 receivers. So I really don't look at the person very often. Occasionally I would say, all right, this guy hasn't gotten a ball yet.
Yeah.
And I want that playmaker to have the ball in his hands. But if it's third down, if they give me this look, I trust any 4 guys. Any of the guys that are out there on the field. It could be our tight end. It might be, hey, we're going to get those guys out there to block on a screen to the running back because I trust all those guys to get their blocks. So, sure, you could say that statistically that Grayson maybe has more throws to a guy like Jay or a guy like Choice, but we are a little bit of a slot-heavy offense.
Sure.
So that's kind of natural. but I trust every single kid that we're playing right now. They're all improving every week. At the early year, I played receiver. I was on those guys pretty darn hard, just as the OC, and they've responded. And they're playing lights out. They're playing fast. They're playing physical. So I've been super impressed with what Coach Daniels and Coach Adams have been able to do with that group of guys.
Yeah, I mean, and from our perspective, we see the confidence beginning to develop, right? I mean, I think I still go back to the second half of that Waco game, where Davis first half, boy, struggled. Couldn't catch anything. Couldn't catch a cold. Couldn't catch COVID. I guess that's a new term. Said it couldn't catch cold. Couldn't catch COVID. But second half, he couldn't drop anything. I mean, and just there was like this confidence that happened. And that seemed to carry over. I know we had to miss a week, but that seemed to carry over this next game. There seems to be a lot more confidence in these guys catching balls that are thrown their way.
Well, and he actually had one little screen right before the end of the first half against Waco that a lot of people might have not thought anything of, and that to me set up his second half.
Right.
He got a ball, he got yards, he got a little hit on him, he felt good, and then the Sean that we see every day at practice showed up for that second half, and a lot of our guys are doing that. I mean, that's why we make a point as an offensive staff and then, meeting with our quarterbacks, you got to spread the ball around. Get it in the athlete's hands and let them go.
Right.
Well,
So
we've got a
we're doing
coach
that.
assigned to tracking the touches of our athletes too. But, I mean, the other part of it as an offensive coordinator, you may think, all right, I called this play because of this coverage, because of the last time we ran maybe a play similar, here's how the coverage turns out. Well, they might come out on a different coverage.
Yep.
Which that throw that he thought might be there goes to a different receiver, or even if it's the same coverage, it still plays out differently.
Yeah.
So you might call a play, and it could end up 3, 4, 5 different ways. Plus, you have to take the protection into account as well.
All right, do one more drawing, and then we will talk a little bit about Round Rock, and then we will do the final drawing for the cool print from Tim Walter. So, Ryan, what is our number? Couldn't be a lot of options left. 39. Number 39. Number 39. Back in the back.
They're
Excitement
excited.
back there.
Yeah. Coming up, you get your choice of Dave Campbell Texas Football Magazine, or one of these shirts, playoff T-shirts. You want short sleeve or long sleeve?
Medium.
Short sleeve. And let's see, large or large. I guess you want a large. And then be sure and let Ryan keep or hang on to your ticket, because now you're also eligible for this thing. Congratulations. All right, tell us a little bit about Round Rock. Round Rock comes in 1-2 on the year, 0-1 in district play. They all three of their games have been very close games. They lost last Friday to a private school out of San Antonio, I think 31-35. They led, I think, most of that game. First game of the year, they lost to they beat Belton 35-33, same Belton team that you guys had scrimmaged the week before, and then they lost to Cedar Ridge 20-18. So they're playing some competitive football.
Now, they could be very well 3-0, and I'm sure Coach Cheatham would say one less turnover, and they certainly would have won last week. And they've got some good athletes. Their quarterback is I think already committed to UTPB.
Okay.
Seth Ford. And he runs the show. And not only just as quarterback, he's a place kicker, he's a punter, he'll kick off for them as well. He loves to run the ball.
The regular old Newt Rocky.
If the ball's on the line, he's going to want the ball in his hand. He also has a good tailback that he can certainly hand off to. That probably will be our toughest tailback competition yet. Hits the hole hard, runs his feet, compact guy. And then not only is he compact, he runs lower than what his body stature is as well. Ford is really deceptive with the ball. So if you're not reading your keys, your eyes are peeking in the backfield, he can hurt you. And it's always keeping the chains moving. He's not going to be the type of guy that's going to throw the ball 35 yards down the field consistently and make mistakes. It's all high percentage stuff that he's going to bring to the table. And then defensively, they got a forefront, and one defensive end plays different than the other. Good length and good size. A lot of games between the two inside tackles, and then also their their tackles in their end or their nose in their end, and they'll get into some 4-2-5 and 4-3 concepts with quarters over the top, and every now and then you might get a one-on-one on the backside that you may have to take advantage of. But their inside backers against the run, they come down hard, and so any of our gap schemes and our zone schemes, our offensive line is certainly going to have to be on top of their game. So strength against strength, I see it. They want to run the ball. We've been stopping the run. And, it's just a matter of how are we going to move the ball, and how are they going to line up against us? Are they going to thin out and go into quarter coverage, or will they show up in man and maybe keep 6 guys in the box for Kyron, who you see the last 2 games has been the hot hand for us at tailback? And what are they going to try to do with their games to get pressure on Grayson?
So percentage run pass for them, what, 70-30?
Yeah, it's definitely over 60, and some of that is situational.
Sure.
By this time in the year, when you've had 3 games and they're all close, of course they've, I guess the one game they only scored 18, but the other 2 they've been in the 30s. They're really efficient with down end distance. That they're not getting themselves on first down a loss of 2. They're always falling forward, whether it's the tailback or the quarterback. They're not making dumb penalties to get the chains long and be forced to throw the 12-yard routes to get to the chains. They're efficient on offense, and they play with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of fire, and they're going to have a whole bunch of guys on that sideline over, because you got 3,500 kids at that school.
Right.
They've got great numbers throughout all their programs. And so it's be a great test and a great game for us, physicality-wise especially.
That was one of the things last Friday night, that it seemed like our defense just kept putting McNeil in situations where, you were talking about Round Rock is kind of pushes it forward, so they're not going to have a lot of third and long situations. But, boy, we were putting Round Rock in these, McNeil in these third and long situations. And that, as an offensive guy, offensive coordinator, Andy, that just changes everything, doesn't it? You'd much rather have a 3rd and 5 than a 3rd and 15.
You have your plans, you have your lists, and you hope that you don't have to go through your entire 3rd and long list.
You had a couple of those the other night.
We did, and we actually executed some. We converted 3rd and 13. That was one of the yardage ones I remember. And a couple.
At one point, we had about a 3rd and 40 or 4th and.
We might have
40.
broken a record
on the biggest loss on a run.
That was that was 2 penalties and a lost run. We were trying to make it challenging for our defense.
Yeah.
That's what we were trying to do.
I don't know how many yards did Kyron end up with rushing for the game?
118.
118 is right.
If you reminded me, probably would have had about 150 if he hadn't gone backwards on that one.
He knows.
All right, so it ought to be a good game. Friday night at Hutto Memorial Stadium. It's our pink out night, so annual pink out game. Obviously, reminder, tickets, we're still on a 50% ticket thing. Do you know that our game the other night was pretty much sold out?
It was.
Yeah, so, we want folks to get out there Friday night and at 7 o'clock and get your tickets. And obviously, if you can't be there, then you can watch on this same link that you're watching the coaches show tonight. All right, let's run through our picks. After we do our picks, then we'll do the final drawing for the Tim Walter print. So, coming into this week, I was up by 1 game on all 3 of you guys. I went 4-0 in the high school picks. So, when I was factoring all that, and you went 3-1, Ryan went 3-1, Gage went 2-2. When I was counted up, I was getting pretty excited because I'm going to have a commanding lead. Then I went 0-4. I went 0-4 in the college games. Picking against the spread, those. So I went 0-4, you went 2-2, Ryan went 2-2, Gage went 2-2. So as we stand right now, I'm 9-6, you're 9-6, Ryan's 9-6, Gage is 8-7 overall. So
come on, Gage.
It's a
One game, you'd be all right, buddy.
All right, so here's our games. Here's our games this week.
I feel like the Dallas Cowboys or Philadelphia Eagles being 9-6 right now.
Yeah, right. All right.
New coach and everything.
First one, okay, we'll go in this order. Ryan will go first, you second, I'll third. Gage gets to go last since he's in last place by 1 game. Vista Ridge at Cedar Ridge, the Battle of the Ridges. Ryan? Huh? Ryan going Cedar. Bradley?
Gosh, that was a tough one for Vista. They going to bounce back, huh?
There you go. That was a surprising score.
Vista Ridge.
Going Vista. I think I'm going Vista Ridge also. Gage? Cedar. All right, split on those. McNeil at Vandergrift.
Vipers.
Thinking this is going to be across the board. Vandegrift, everybody.
Just get an extra reward for that one.
Yeah. Westwood and Stony Point, are they playing?
They will play on Monday.
Okay.
Westwood.
Okay, we'll count that. Ryan? Westwood. You going Westwood, Gage? Gage, at some point you got to make up a game. All right, everybody's Westwood. And then we'll do one more. I did Hendrickson at Georgetown. You know, Georgetown was down to Maynard, came back, and I was the only one to pick Georgetown last week, by the way.
Well done.
Yeah.
Both the Eagles.
Okay. Ryan? Georgetown? Gage? Hendrickson? Huh? You're going Hendrickson.
There it is.
All right. I'm going Georgetown.
He's down 2 now.
Yep. All right. Here's our college games. Again, we do these against the spread per Ryan's request, which didn't really help him out a whole lot.
Are we using his bookie or yours out of Vegas? Which one?
You don't want to use his.
Okay.
His is rich from all the money Ryan's had to pay him. All right. OU at TCU, and TCU's getting 7 points. Ryan? OU. Bradley?
Gosh, that's a tough one.
I know. OU hadn't been all that impressive.
Boomer Sooner.
You going OU? I'll go Frogs. Gage? Gage going Frogs. Okay. This one could be for the Big 12 championship already. Iowa State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's favored by 3.5. Rhino?
This is at Oklahoma State?
At Stillwater.
Cowboys.
Cowboys?
They have orange in it.
I'm believing in the Cyclones. I'm going Iowa State. Okay. I'm on an island on that one. Baylor, who hasn't played in like 3 or 4 weeks, at UT, who also hasn't really played in 3 or 4 weeks. OU's favored, or UT's favored by 8.5. Ryan? Going Bears? Bradley?
Gosh. These are the games you come up with?
Yep.
Baylor, please, sir.
Baylor? I'm going UT, not because I like UT, but just because Baylor hadn't played. Huh? Baylor? Okay. Philip, I didn't put Bama on the list this time. That was an impressive win over Georgia. Yes, we all picked Georgia. We all lost that game. Yeah, Bama was impressive as always. All right, West Virginia at Tech. West Virginia favored by 3.
On the road at Tech, huh?
Ryan's guns up. Brad.
No guns.
West Virginia. I mean, obviously, I pick against my alma mater all the time, but I'm gonna pick them this time. I'm taking Tech. Gage. Wow. All right. I feel like I need to change my pick. You got 3 people pick Tech. All right. And then, Brad, always in your honor, since Big Ten finally gets to kick off football this Saturday, Michigan at Minnesota. Michigan favored by 3.5. Ryan, Minnesota.
We can go with the Gophers. They're unknown right now.
So is everybody in the Big Ten.
Michigan, though. Got their number, Andy.
I'll go Harbaugh.
Row that boat.
Huh?
It's either
Michigan?
the boat or khakis. What you going with?
I don't know. I'm picking Michigan, but I hope Minnesota wins. All right, we'll check in on next Monday. Hopefully none of these get canceled due to COVID. I think we had 2 on our list last week that got LSU and Florida was one of those.
I probably would have won both those and been ahead by 1.
I'm sure you would have, unfortunately. All right, Ryan, last drawing. This is for the Canvas Tim Walter print. Here we go, AJ. Pick a number. Last 2 digits.
44.
44. We're 44. The Forrest family.
There you go.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tim Walter, for donating that.
Yes, thank you, Tim.
That's great. All right, Friday night at Hutto Memorial Stadium, 3rd home game. It's kind of nice to have another home game. Well, 3 out of 4 games at home so far. We need to win them, right?
Let's do it. Don't lose at home.
Hutto Memorial Stadium is always home field advantage, even with a reduced capacity. So we want to sell out all that we can. So folks get out, watch the Hippos play against Round Rock, 7 o'clock Friday night. If you can't be there, tune in on the same link that you're watching the coach's show tonight. We'll be back next Monday here at Rio Grande to talk about it. Our guest next Monday will be Henry Gideon, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations. We're going to talk about stadium renovations.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of nice press box you guys might have next year.
I'm excited.
Dude, there is nobody more excited than I am about the new press box.
You mean you don't enjoy your platform right now?
Actually, I enjoy the platform more than I enjoy the press box. Hey, I think we're going to do a fundraiser, and it's going to be you've seen those fundraisers where it's like pay like $10 to take like 10 swings with a sledgehammer or something. I think we're going to do that for this press box. We'll make so much money. We'll pay for almost pay for the new press box with all the people that want to take a shot at that press box. That'll be fun.
The deer blind?
Yes. It'll be great. All right, we'll be here next Monday night to talk to Henry Gideon about that and hopefully talk about a win over Round Rock Friday night. Appreciate everybody joining us, those that tuned in, those that are here at Rio Grande. We'll see you Friday night at Hutto Memorial Stadium. Have a great week, everybody.